or discharge any business standing in their name on the business paper. In accordance with the resolution of the House, business is interrupted for the presentation of a valedictory speech, and I call the very patient member for Strathfield.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You have to be patient in this place. The poet Henry Wadsworth Longfellow once said this. He said, "Great is the art of beginning, but greater is the art of ending." And today I end my time as a member of this Parliament. It is an ending that many believe has come too soon. Yet often people stay too long and for the wrong reasons. For me, it's time. And I leave for the right reasons. I'm confident in my decision, proud of my achievements, and ready and excited about the next chapter in my life, whatever that may be. Mr. Speaker, my story in this place is a rather unusual one. I've represented two electorates, Newcastle between 2007 and 2011, and of course Strathfield between 2015 and 2021. I have been a minister, I have been a shadow minister, I've been leader of the opposition, I was the first female member for Newcastle, the first democratically elected leader of the Labor Party in New South Wales, and the first since Jack Renshaw to have been born and raised in country New South Wales. My country upbringing and the experience of being both the member for Newcastle and the member for Strathfield have given me what is an invaluable and unique insight into the mood and the aspirations of this state. Mr. Speaker, losing office in 2011 never really gave me the opportunity to reflect on my time as the member for Newcastle. Perhaps that was just as well, because in truth, my Newcastle journey didn't reach its conclusion until September 2014 during Operation Spicer in the Independent Commission Against Corruption. It's fair to say that when I was elected in 2007, I was a very different MP to those who had gone before me. I was a young woman, I was shaping a positive agenda in a city that was shedding its industrial skin. My journey in Newcastle was best articulated by Labor stalwart and former member for Newcastle, the late Arthur Wade, in 2006, when he said, "Nobody wants the girl." That election, it was brutal. I won by 787 votes. Within 2 years, I was a minister, and over that time, I held 7 portfolios. In 2011, Arthur Wade was once again manning the Carrington booth. We'd settled our differences, but the foe I now faced was sinister and all-pervasive. The events of that time, and I'm not going to go through them because they're well documented, and my evidence in ICAC was crucial in exposing illegal donations and rampant misconduct. At times, I have to say, it feels just like another lifetime, but the gratitude I felt then and now remains. I want to thank the people of Newcastle for giving me the opportunity to represent them. Much of my family still call Newcastle home, and I will always see myself as a girl of the Hunter region. I particularly acknowledge party members including John, Margaret and Chris McNaughton, Kay and David Simmons, Simon Adam and Liz McCoy, the late John Minor, the late Dennis Nichols and his wife Iris, Frank and Beryl Rigby, Glenn Beattie, Barbara Witcher, Bernie Bernard, Mary, Barbara and Ruth Cowcott, Mike Bolton and Neil Pitts. Now, to be given the opportunity to represent one electorate is actually a huge privilege. But to have the honour of representing two vastly different electorates is incredibly rare. And as I said, it is a tremendous honour to have represented two electorates. In fact, you have to go back some 70 years to find an MP that has represented two distinct electorates. Labor's Ray Marr represented both North Sydney and Wyong in 1953. And before him in 1930, Labor's Clarence Martin represented Young and Waverley. So I am in fact the first woman. Mr. Speaker, I was first elected as the member for Strathfield in 2015, just 4 years after what was a disaster in 2011. And I can say to you how fortunate I have been to represent this diverse, beautiful community for 6 years. It has given me so much joy and so much inspiration. In many ways, Strathfield sums up what is the best of our diverse state. There is ambition and there's prosperity, but there is also significant economic hardship in many suburbs. There are challenges, but along with that, there are countless opportunities. There are echoes of old New South Wales, but overwhelmingly the feel is of a new New South Wales with close ties to Asia and the subcontinent. Now, those who know me well know that I get that extroverted energy by engaging with individuals and groups. That is, listening to their stories and taking on their issues of concern. There are, Mr. Speaker, MPs on both sides of this House that immerse themselves in the different cultures and the traditions of our citizens. As leader, I took on the portfolio of multiculturalism, and I made that one focus of my leadership. I've attended not just the large celebrations, but also the small community events, where I have enjoyed long conversations and meeting people in what I believe is a more respectful and meaningful way. I was, as all of you know, the first woman to wear a sari into this parliament. And I thank my very good friend Aruna Chandrala for introducing me to the sari. I now have around 90 saris, but I will say the member for Granville is in competition with me, wherever she is. Around 90 saris, and I can tell you the story of each and every one of them. Respectful gestures like this are important in building relationships between cultures and nations, and importantly, engaging with our citizens in a way that recognises what's important to them. I am a Christian, Mr. Speaker, but I am equally as comfortable in a temple or a mosque or a gurdwara as I am in a church. To celebrate Ramadan, Diwali, Pongal, Aniket, Onam, Vietnamese New Year, Buddha's birthday, Hanukkah, Greek and Indian Independence Day, Korean Republic Day, Holi, Lunar New Year, Mid-Autumn Festival, and so much more are what I see as elemental experiences that I will have with me for the rest of my life. I want to thank the many groups and individuals who have welcomed me warmly. My heart is full when I think of you. Mr. Speaker, unlike Newcastle, and the member for Newcastle will back me up, where there are issues and challenges that come with being the state's second city, Strathfield has been a less complex electorate to represent. For me, it's about the people, always about the people. They have been my priority. And in my electorate office, I know that we have made a huge difference to the lives of so many. I thank Jackie Thorburn, my electorate officer, who's been with me since the very beginning. Jackie, you have given so much of yourself to those who've sought our help. No problem. Thank you. No problem has been too difficult for you to solve. I will be forever indebted to you for the compassion, the absolute compassion that you have shown every single person who has walked through our door. I also thank Marianne Duggan, Joanne May, Imogen Smith, Veronica von Arnhem, Ricky Chibber, Blake Osmond, Pia Brunner, Sally Situ, Alison Chen, Sachi Jingran, Jonah Bashara and Judith Wagner, who have all worked in my electorate office at some point. And a very special mention to Sravia Abanini and Michael Ung, who have also been with me since the very beginning, and I am grateful for everything you have done for me. You are the future of our party, and it is now time for me to support you. I'm also proud that I leave Strathfield with a stronger than ever membership with engagement right across the community. My campaign in 2015 on a platform of integrity in politics energised our membership, and it gave me lifelong friendships with people who believed in me, had my back and always supported me. And I'm going to be thanking our wonderful party members personally in coming weeks because it is too difficult to acknowledge everyone right now. But I do want to acknowledge Kim Raleigh. You've gone through so much, but your enthusiasm for our party and belief in the Labor cause has never tired. I also acknowledge our Labor councillors, John Faker, Karen Pensabini, Mark Drury, Lucille McKenna and Andrew Ferguson. And I am one of those people who believe you can achieve so much more in our community when we all work together. I want to thank my much-loved husband, Stephen, who's been with me on this journey. And I can't actually look at him. And I look forward to spending much more time at our farm, mucking out the stables, resuming our trip to Scotland, which was our honeymoon that we still haven't had in 10 years, and starting the next chapter of our life, wherever that may take us. Mr. Speaker, too often politics, I believe, is about the exercising of power. But it is actually the day-to-day responsibilities of office, where not only the substance, but the art and the beauty of politics and being a parliamentarian lies. I never actively sought power. I was urged to run for the leadership of the Labor Party by my colleagues and members of our party, and I thank them for their overwhelming support that I received as the first democratically elected leader of New South Wales Labor. I also thank my incredible deputy, Yasmin Catley, my colleague and my dear friend. I thank the union movement led by Mark Morey. We are a broad church and there are squabbles at times, but we all strive towards that light on the hill. In my 2 years as leader, I sought to rebuild trust in our party, to reconnect with Western Sydney and our multicultural and multi-faith communities, and to be a party for the bush as well as the city. Importantly, to once again focus Labor on being a party supporting local manufacturing and jobs and responsible and accountable government. I also drove internal reform. The Lavarch review into our head office has seen significant changes to our party governance, and I thank Bob Nanva and Dom Offner, who understand that for a political party to be electable, it has to be a party that people trust. I am pleased that in the Legislative Council, we will now ensure that 2 positions are held by MPs from rural New South Wales. The governments of McKay, Rann and Carr shared a common trait of strong regional representation. When I entered Parliament, we held seats like Kiama, Monero and Bathurst, and we should never, ever sell ourselves short in aspiring to represent these communities again. If we were expected to win the seat of Upper Hunter, a seat we haven't represented in more than 100 years, then we should win seats we held 10 years ago. Mr. Speaker, I have played hard in this place, as you well know, but I want to thank you so much for your steady hand in this chamber. You might be actually interested to know that the motto of Clan McKay or McKay from the northernmost reaches of Scotland is Manu Fortis, which is with a strong hand. I have always tried to balance this strength with a fair sense of play. I also want to thank the Premier for his very kind and generous message when I announced that I was resigning, recognising my significant contribution to the Parliament. Thank you, Premier. I live by the motto that fear is only destructive if it stops you doing something. In that vein, I acknowledge the efforts of previous female leaders, Kerry Chikarovsky, Christina Keneally, Carmel Tebbett, Linda Burney, Penny Sharp and Gladys Berejiklian. And I wish the very best to Prue Carr and Bronnie Taylor, who now take up the challenge of being female leaders in this parliament. I was so proud of the fact that when I formed our shadow cabinet, we achieved equal representation of women and men the first time in New South Wales. We have incredible women in our party, and I thank them for their friendship and support. Mr. Speaker, my inaugural speech in 2007, because I've actually given 2 inaugural addresses, as the member for Newcastle, ended with a quote by the French revolutionary Georges Danton, and he said this. He said, "Boldness and again boldness and always boldness." While I still share these sentiments, I also note that the famous revolutionary was arrested, tried, and executed by a few of his fellow Jacobins. But as Danton also said, I would rather be guillotined than the guillotiner. I leave my office with a few what-ifs, but certainly no regrets. I leave with my head held high and the treasured friendships of many fine people who have graced this parliament. I entered parliament at the age of 37. Perhaps these days it's seen as middle-aged in the world of New South Wales politics. But over the last 15 years, I have learned so much, and the boldness of Danton has been supplemented by the wisdom of other great leaders. Reflecting on my time, I realise that we all have our limitations, but it is actually what we can achieve within those parameters, the good we can achieve and the evil that we can avoid, what matters. Hello, Mick. I reflect on the words of that great man, political and spiritual leader Mahatma Gandhi, who once said this: "Carefully watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Manage and watch your words, for they will become your actions. Consider and judge your actions, for they become your habits. Acknowledge and watch your habits, for they shall become your values. And understand and embrace your values, for they become your destiny." Mr. Speaker, the sparsest of thoughts can lead to the most generous of visions. It can also lead to the path of despair and destruction. And as politicians, we tread this high wire act where good and bad, inspiration and indifference abounds. Power, the use and abuse of it, surrounds us and confronts us each and every day. While we cannot always control the circumstances, we can control how we as parliamentarians react and respond. I hope that in my time, I have shown that doing what is right, regardless of consequences, may not always lead to success or acclaim, but it is the very measure by which we will all ultimately be judged. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.